you.
Good afternoon and welcome. It is now 4:05 p.m. and it's time for our Board of Supervisors work session. Board meeting room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast Chatham, Virginia, 24531. Let's see, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Dalton.
Here.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Ingram.
Here.
Mr. Whittle.
Here.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Here. All right, are there any items to be added to the agenda? Any items? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Is there support for the motion?
Second.
Second over here by Mr. Whittle. Any discussion? Hearing none, cast your votes, please.
Mr. Height, can I get your vote verbally while he's working on that?
Yes.
And Mr. Tucker?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
It's not popping up, but it passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You're fine. All right, let's see. We're now at after approval of agenda for the citizens' convenient. All work session and committee meetings are now being recorded and can be viewed on the county Facebook website and the same YouTube locations as the Board of Supervisors business meetings. Please remember that the board's work session is designed for internal board and county staff communication, discussion, and work. If it is not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained. Respectfully, any outbursts or disorderly conduct from the audience will not be tolerated and may result in the offending person's removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens and other appropriate parties as designated by the board's bylaws are permitted to make comments under the hearing of the citizens section of tonight's business meeting. We're moving down to agenda item 5A, potential unpaved roads to be added to county secondary 6-year plan. Mr. Jay Craddock from VDOT. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I just put a handout at each of your seats with the yellow down at the bottom.
Yes, sir.
So this is a spreadsheet with basically summarizes the 6-year plan. So all the roads at the top of the list are already on the 6-year plan. And the ones at the bottom in yellow are the roads that I'm proposing to add to the plan. This is just my proposal based on feedback I've received over the last year, but what ends up in that yellow section is totally up to you all. This is just, I'm putting this out there for your consideration. What we do need to be mindful of is we've only got enough money to do about 3.9 miles worth, whatever 3.9 miles you choose. And that's coming from, in fiscal year 2031, the draft plan shows us receiving $756,000 for unpaved roads 6 years from now. So the roads I chose are Brown Road, which is a dead-end road off of Elm Road, which is off of Strawberry Road, 750 in between 57 and Franklin Turnpike. Newby Lane, which is a dead-end road off of Irish Road, Route 703. Berry Road, which is not a dead-end road. It connects North Briar Mountain Road and Triangle School Road. And then Spruce Road, which connects Muswell Road over to Anderson Mill Road. So you add all those together, you end up with 3.9 miles, and that's about how much money we have. Like I said, that's just what I'm throwing out there for y'all's consideration, but if you have other roads you would like to consider, I just need to know about it. And our next step would be, next month, we would have the public hearing and then make the final decision. So if you have anything you want to change, if you let me know sometime between now and next month, I'll make the draft plan for the public hearing match up with what you all would like to see on there. Then we can have the public hearing and make it official.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Craddock. Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay, I've never had this happen, but Road 848, better known as Joe Carter Road, there's 3 people that live, 3 residents on that road. And one of the 3 told me last year adamantly that they didn't want their road paved. So how do you handle that? So if they don't want it paved, could we reallocate, take that road off the list and look at one that's been talked about for years, which is Whitetail? I think Mr. Bowman is familiar with that, off 41. It's not quite 0.7 of a mile, and I think you have about 30 residents there.
In order for a road to be on this list and be part of the 6-year plan, it has to already be a state-maintained road.
Okay.
So right now in Pennsylvania County alone, we've got about 132 miles worth of unpaved roads. And these go all the way back to the Byrd Act of 1932. And we still haven't managed to get all of those paved yet. So that's why we're not taking in any more private roads that are not paved.
I got you.
So Whitetail, in order for us to take that into the system, it would need to be paved first.
Okay.
But we could, see, Joe Carter Road, we were scheduled to do that this year. But if you really want to stop it, we can stop it. But probably what would happen is that money would go into what we would do next year, because I don't think we'll have enough time to get the environmental approvals and everything ready to substitute another road for Joe Carter Road this year. But we could definitely take it off the list and put that money towards next year's batch of roads.
Yeah, I mean, when you have people that's fighting to get their roads paved, and then you have some that say, I don't want it, it seems to be hard to understand. But needless to say, there's another one in Roswell that I was contacted by Eric Phillips' office, and I think it is up to state standards, so that might be a road for consideration. But I'll talk with you about that one.
All right. But there are also people on Joe Carter Road who do want it paved.
Sure.
I'm well aware of that because I've heard from them. So it's just a decision you all would have to make how you want to go. Eventually, we're going to pave all of them.
Okay.
But it's going to be quite a few years. So I guess we could put that one towards the end of the list if that's what you want to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dudley.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Jay, thank you for everything you do. Gentlemen, I contact this guy quite a bit, and he is very adamant of getting to the work, checking it out. If it's something needs attention, he does it, and that's you do a wonderful job. Speaking of what Mr. Ingram was speaking about, I think you remember several years ago that we found money through telefunds to fix a road. How much right now do we have in the telefunds bucket that is not used? Because I've not heard of anything being used out of those funds since, you know what I'm talking about. Telefunds are telecommunication companies that actually add to the coffers to maintain the roads as they're, as they come online or into our area. So is that not correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
It's basically a right-of-way usage fee that the telecommunications
Yes.
company paid to VDOT in order to, and then they don't have to pay permit fees when they get permits because they're paying these fees. But over the next 6 years, it shows us receiving approximately roughly $124,000 a year in telefees. And I think the road you're probably referring to is Ward Road, or Mansion Bridge Road. People call it.
Mansion, that's the one that we did.
Right. Well, that's the type of thing we've been doing those telefees, spending those telefees on. because it's not really enough money to do a project like was
Sure.
done back in the days before smart scale. So we put that money in a cost center just to be used on small safety improvements like trench widening,
Sure.
things like that. New runs of guardrail, new signs that are new. Of course, if it's a guardrail that gets hit, that comes out of maintenance fund, but a brand new section of guardrail is requested, new signs that are requested, trench widening, small projects like that, because it's just not enough money to do a big, like rebuild a road like used to be done years ago.
Now, okay, so, you know, the bridge down at the bottom of the hill, Jaybird, is that going to be replaced this year?
Not this year. but
Okay.
It's currently in the design phase. They're looking at a way to make it a little less expensive.
Mhm.
Different type of structure so it can go up quicker. That part of the big cost of that project is because of the amount of traffic on that road. Plan A was to build a brand new big bridge beside that bridge.
Yes, sir.
And then tear the old one down. But they're trying to figure out a way to keep it along the same alignment, maybe like was done on Cascade Road years ago and they put in one of those prefabricated truss bridges,
Sure.
which is a much quicker process. In order to do that, we might have to shut the road down completely, but it would be for a shorter overall duration. But they're still considering options. So, but no, it's not going to be done this year.
Okay.
It's,
All right.
it's in the works.
Okay.
Being designed.
Thank you, Jay. You do a wonderful job. I'll yield back to Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Craddock? Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to
Yes, sir.
comment on, thank you, sir. Thank you, Jay, for everything you do. I mean, I'm good with all the roads that you got in here if we can leave them in there, especially Spruce Road. I've had a lot of calls on that one.
I have
So,
to.
but I'm good with all of them. That's all I've got. Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Craddock.
All right, thank
We
y'all.
appreciate everything you do.
Thank y'all.
All right. Let's see. Moving on to item 6A, Beautification Committee, funding. Staff contact Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to stay within the 10 minutes here. What I've given you is a handout of the talking points, and I'll just work right through this to kind of stay within that time frame. We also have here from the Beautification Committee, I think there are 4 people that are representing the Beautification Committee, and also we have Sheriff Taylor here to speak as an expert on this request here. It has to do with the buying the trail cameras for the Beautification Committee to monitor roads, heavily traveled roads, and see if we can cut down on some of the litter bugs out there that are causing some of the problems. And I wanted to thank Jay before he left out of here. I thought he was going to stay for a minute. And I will say this right now. I noticed on the major highways, 29 going over to the Institute this morning has been cleaned. VDOT took that on. They had folks out there, crews out there, policing that area for the last 2 weeks. It looks fabulous. How long it stays that way, don't know. 41 from Mount Herman, and I'm not sure how far up, maybe to J&J Trucking. They were out there cleaning that road, policing that up. So VDOT has taken the lead on getting a lot of these highways, the larger ones, cleaned up, and they're out there doing a great job with that. So I want to thank VDOT for all that work they've done. So what the Beautification Committee is doing, and I've met with them on a regular basis, every month we meet, they're asking for support from the Board of Supervisors to move forward to apply for a grant to purchase these trail cameras. And they had already done the legwork. They put the grant, they did the research, put the grant together, and applied with the Danville Regional Foundation through its community council for the funding. DRF requested a letter from the county attorney answering 3 questions they had some concerns with, and to have ready to present with the application. And that's part of the packet that I handed out to you earlier. And Josh Hearn's email is below, and I'm going to read this. It's a quote from him, if you allow me. Says, I expect it would be best to have an opinion from the county attorney through the sheriff's attached letter of support is certainly a strong endorsement. There are a number of questions, though, that I can imagine being brought up by any one of our community councils. Since they are composed of a variety of community members local to the area the community council represents. It's these area residents that will decide to approve or decline the request, so it's typically worth answering certain questions to avoid delay in decisions. So 3 of these questions, and again, Mr. Evans has already looked at these, and is it legal to post these kinds of cameras on public land for law enforcement purposes? Would there have to be signs notifying people they're being recorded? Number 2, is it legal if the committee members are the ones checking the camera's memory cards since they're not law enforcement? And number 3, how are committee members going to have the time to check the recordings when there could be a lot of clips, with most of them presumably being cars driven and not littering? And so the first 2 questions really need some kind of definitive answer about the legality of the plan that the county attorney can give there. So the third question is really more for for us, the board and the committee, and doesn't need an opinion. So county attorney responded with an attached letter, which you've got there, and Sheriff Taylor's letter. So a member of the beautification committee present today can answer the third question, and I'll let them decide which one, if you'd like, to come forward and answer that. So in addition, the sheriff department has offered to answer any questions today, so Sheriff Taylor's there in the audience. So in summary, the county attorney's letter indicates no concerns of a legal nature regarding the placement of cameras and or monitoring of such. The beautification committee is prepared to work along with the sheriff's department in the placement and monitoring of the cameras. And so I have a motion already typed out there to move and add this to the consent agenda tonight, that the Board of Supervisors supports the beautification committee in applying for a grant for the purpose of trail cameras. And I'll just let you know that the grant application process has been done by the committee and not by any staff members. So they took it on themselves to make sure they were able to do that. They contacted all the people that needed to be contacted, vetted everything through them. So everything is very transparent here. And so we're just trying to help them. These are all volunteers. We have to keep that in mind. These folks have gone above and beyond. I mean, they're some of the greatest go-getters I've seen. They've been working in the schools, reading the kids, reading books to them on littering, how bad it is. The kids are excited. I'm excited about working with these folks here every month and hearing all the good things that they've been doing. And also, we've got our countywide beautification coming up later on this month. And so, with that being said, I'll entertain any questions, and I'm sure if Sheriff Taylor, if you have any of him, he'll be glad to come forward and address those, or the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Any questions from the board? Yes, sir, Mr. Dudley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Bowman. I do have a question. It could be for Mike, or it could be for the attorney. With these cameras in place, could the usage of these cameras actually not only catch, but can we prosecute if it's a very large amount, or you tell me?
I think I'll take the first crack and let Sheriff Taylor correct me if I'm wrong. The prosecution, if there's evidence that's identified of a specific individual that is doing a specific act that's barred by the code, then that's prosecutable. The difficulty will be to identify specific individuals, not just vehicles, but specific individuals, as well as, I guess, the data collection generally. But the short answer is yes. If there's a way to identify a specific individual who is taking an action that is barred by the code, then it's prosecutable, no matter how it's collected initially.
Okay. Second question would be, are these cameras effective enough to get, and I think this would be for Mike, to get definitive pictures, license plates, such as that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I love to help people that are just doing the right thing and cleaning the county up. I want to know the effectiveness maybe, or there, technology, we can buy a phone today and tomorrow it's upgraded. So I just want to know if are these definitive enough for us to do something or catch somebody or prosecute?
It would depend on the placement of the camera, and we would help when we identified, let's say, a continued abuser. And just to give you an example, if we continue to get reports of dumping in cul-de-sacs, dumping of tires,
Yes, sir.
dumping of what people term as biological threats to them. And so when we get those, we'll put our own cameras up on occasion. But we have people that have experience in putting the cameras up. And on occasion, we will get a photograph from a property owner or a landowner that has put a camera up without our knowledge, and of course, you're free to do that. And they would want that person found and prosecuted if we could. So it takes some investigative time behind it to make sure that we can identify the person. It may not be the person that the vehicle is registered to, but it gives us a starting point.
Yes.
And we can sometimes track that back. We could not disseminate criminal history information back to the committee members, of course, but that information would be conveyed to the Commonwealth Attorney, and if it's a prosecutable case, of course, the Commonwealth will approve it.
Okay. That's good. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back.
Yes, sir.
I had a question.
Mr. Whittle.
Yeah, do these cameras report back to you, or do you have to go out and pick the card up all the time?
If it has Wi-Fi access,
Yeah.
you can set it to report back to you, but in many instances, you're in an area that it won't connect.
Well, because somebody see it sitting there, happen to see it, they're going to take that camera with them, they'll be using it hunting next year.
They could be.
Yeah.
We've had that to happen too.
Yes, sir.
That'll be gone.
Thank you, sir.
They don't mind violating the law, most of them.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone? I guess, I don't know if I have questions, I just have concerns. And part of my concerns is the fact that some days I have to play the devil's advocate. And I think we tried this at our convenience centers, and I think they had cameras on that. Then it became somewhat laborious in terms of having someone sit there and monitor those cameras. Then the question becomes, okay, you got the vehicle, you got the tag, who's the individual? So I think it's a good idea, but I think there's more work that needs to be done in terms of carefully planning it, because the question becomes now, how frequently are you going to check these cameras? How are you going to monitor it? And then once you catch someone, how do you differentiate between, someone throwing out a Hardee's meal bag or whatever the case versus someone throwing out a trash bag versus someone being a habitual offender? Once you figure that piece out, then what is you have to ask yourself, what is the penalty that would be placed upon the individual? So, I mean, there are a lot of questions that have to be addressed before I'm actually on board with that. And then too, you know, I can't help but think that, you know, a lot of the residents, when they hear about this, if they had to vote on it or you put it on as a referendum, they would probably vote it down. They would say to you that cameras are too intrusive as is, one, and, you know, they really don't appreciate being recorded, so they would probably prefer some element of privacy out there. So you know, again, I'm not trying to put a wet blanket on it, but I'm just saying that there are a myriad of questions that probably need to be addressed before we kind of green light this thing. Okay? That's kind of where I am.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff
Mr. Wood.
Taylor, could I ask you? I have noticed very recently cameras in a lot of areas of this county that have been posted with solar powered cameras. Do you know what those cameras are being used for?
I do.
What are they being used for? Can you say?
Yes, it's a law enforcement tool.
Sure.
Just to give you an example, yesterday we were looking for a dementia patient that had driven away. She was 83 years old, and she got turned around in Campbell County, and she was reported about 3 hours after she was known to be missing. Had no cell phone, and through that technology, we found her in New London and was able to return her home. She lived here in this county, and she was safe. So this is something that's been debated in the legislature for the past 4 years. There has been instances when, if you'll recall the reporter and the cameraman that was killed in Smith Mountain.
Yeah.
That's how that man was captured. He drove through one of the cameras that afternoon on Interstate 66. There was an officer on the side of the road that had the camera equipment in his car, and that's how that man was captured. So there's a lot of success stories. And back to your point, Mr. Tucker, you're exactly right. And the penalty for littering is 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine if you continue that practice. And so where I would see that it would be a good application are those areas that are remote and they see the opportunity to dump uncut tires, which is a crime in itself. And if it's enough of them, it's a DEQ issue. So there's an application for it, but Mr. Tucker, you're correct. It's time consuming. And there are some legalities behind it, and some people do take offense to cameras being up. But if you use them in the right way, and you do not abuse that ability, I think it would be advantageous to the county to have those. I hope I answered your question, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, because we're talking about privacy, and I had noticed these cameras in the last 6 months or so.
Now, and I'll speak to that. There are very rigid guidelines on the retention and the use of those cameras, what we can use them for and what we cannot use them for. And we will apply the same methodology and the same restrictions if you agree to the cameras that are used for the littering control.
Thank you, Mr. Height. Anything else?
Well, the way I look at these cameras is not to go ahead and prosecute people, but to be a deterrent, to discourage them if they know that there's a possibility that their picture's going to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
I will always think twice if I know cameras are around.
I get it.
So, and I think, as a deterrent, that's why I see it as a deterrent to hopefully make the people stop and think before they unload the back of the truck.
Gotcha. Anything else, Mr. Whittle? One more, very quickly, one more comment, and I'll make this and I'll defer to my colleague, Mr. Ingram. The sheriff is in the business of policing, and I think the beautification has identified an area where there is a need for the cameras, but I wouldn't want the beautification committee basically kind of blurring the lines with policing. So just a suggestion to think about. Mayhaps the beautification committee can identify those remote places that Sheriff Taylor is talking about. We can maybe proceed with a grant and then turn the whole thing over to our sheriff's department and let the sheriff's department basically administer. That way it absolves the beautification committee from being in the middle of the gotcha moments, and then now it's an argument between the beautification committee and John Q. Public in terms of, okay, what's the penalty? What you gonna do with me now that you caught me? Now that you have me on camera? That sort of thing. So, because I doubt, this is the tip of the iceberg. I doubt very seriously if the beautification committee is gonna have the resources, and, we wanna make sure if you have a great idea, I'm all about it, but we have to take a look at the implementation of it and then the sustainability of it long-term. There's no point in just going out, petitioning for a grant, buying cameras, and then it goes by the wayside, because that's what happened with the cameras out at these convenience centers. Again, whether it's the taxpayer dollar or whether it's coming from a grant, we have to be good stewards of the monies. Yes, Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Taylor, you and I both remember the good old days where if somebody dumped litter on somebody's property, we were required to go and dig through that trash and look for a name, address, phone number, any identifiers, and then hopefully make charges. And the courts historically has not done a whole lot with those litter bugs, because you know as well as I do, you're not going to regulate morality or cleanliness. I don't like the camera idea because it's going to be labor intensive for you guys, because these folks, as good as it sounds, and I appreciate their thought process, they're going to have to turn it over to you guys, and you're going to have to do the work. And I live on a dead-end road that's 1 mile long, and I'm still working on the who, but somebody loves to dump trash on my road. I stopped just the other day and picked up a bag from Chick-fil-A, and the good thing about Chick-fil-A, they put the first name of the purchaser or the customer, and whoever Alex is, I'm looking for him. So that just goes to show that, if you go too deep on the investigative side, you're going to have tons of citizens coming to the beautification committee with the receipt saying, here, go find Alex and put him in jail for me, even though you don't have him on camera. So it just, to me, it's going to become labor intensive. It's going to be so much work. I still want us to get back to the concept of working on getting the litter up. If we have problem sites, and we've had them through the years, just like you mentioned with tires, and massive amounts of trash coming out of Carolina, that would be a good place to put a camera. But, there's haphazardly just putting them on 29 or 58. I just don't see the benefit. I just see too much work for you guys, to be honest with you. Thank you. If you know who Alex is, we'll talk about him. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. True
Yes,
story.
sir. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
since I brought this up, if there's someone from the committee over here would like to speak and address your concerns, I'd like for them to come up to the podium there.
We understand some of the concerns that you have as far as the cameras being intrusive, but also in this grant, if you'll notice that we're also asking for money going toward billboards to let people who are coming through the county know what fines are, that they are listed, Even the children in elementary school are aware of fines. So the camera, as far as being intrusive, if you notice when you go, and I know it's a different situation, when you're going through stoplights, you've got cameras there. They catch your tag. If you're going through your tunnels that have tolls, you've got cameras catching your tag. But our idea was just mainly trying to get those highly remote areas that won't really be focusing on neighbors per se. It's just that we know that there are dumping grounds, and we would like to be that addressed. We've had people coming to us, finding out that we are involved on the beautification committee, and they're saying, we need some signs. Where are the signs that are saying littering is illegal? We've had people say, we don't feel that's very effective anymore, but we need to do something. And we're open for any suggestions. And we've gone with the elementary school children, spoke with them, and they too say, you know, we need to just promote this more. You can talk about it, but there's no visual thing happening anymore. You know, back in the day, we had our Smokey the Bear, we had Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute the Woodsy Owl. We just need to bring something like that back to make people more aware of what needs to be done. It's a mindset, it's a behavior problem. We realize that, but we just feel like we need to make some sort of effort to see if we can't make a change. And that's what we're asking. If the cameras need to be put on the back stove for a moment, okay, we can deal with that. But we are going to ask you if you can help us with billboards or some sort of signage.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Anyone else from the Beautification Committee?
So just thank you so much. So I think pretty much everything's been covered there. Are you coming up to speak? Okay.
Ms. Bowman?
I just wanted to remind you what the fines are. And if we have billboards and people driving down the highways see, even if we don't have the cameras, our vision was to say, smile, you're on candid camera. But if we can't do that, if we can at least have something up there that says, the fines are up to $2,500, and there's time in jail. So we want to educate people about that. So that was the purpose of the billboards, to let folks know that it is illegal to dump. And one other thing about the cameras, we had planned that we would go and retrieve the SIM cards individually, all the members, because we're going to have them in each of our districts. And then we would retrieve the SIM card, take it home, look at it on the computer, and if we saw anything, and this is not taking time away from the sheriff's department, if we saw anything, if we did capture anything, then it's turned over to the sheriff's department for prosecution. So it's not putting the burden on them unless we find something worth giving to them. But we're willing. We're willing. We've already designated some places, and we've volunteered to put it on our barn on Route 41. I hope nobody's listening. They'll know where it is. But it's close enough that I can go and retrieve the SIM card, look at it, and turn it over if we see anything. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Did you have something else? Okay. So, so you've heard the pros and certainly the cons of this. It is being worked. This committee is working on those details that you, Mr. Tucker, outlined. Those are things that were brought up during committee meetings, and they know they have to be addressed. So before anything else happens. So what they're trying to do is to go ahead and get the application in to try to get the grant funding. That doesn't mean it's going to be spent right away, but to get through that hurdle. And then they can also work on the different activities that they need to work on, and actually could come back to the board here and say, here's where we are now in this. You know, let's go ahead and finalize what we need to do, what we can do as a committee. So that's kind of where they are. They're constantly, every month, working on the details of this. So,
thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Yeah.
Listen, and I don't want anyone to misconstrue when I play devil's advocate. I'm just, you know, kind of our responsibility to kind of put protective measures in place for the entire county. And I salute and applaud the work that you're doing. My recommendation is the fact that, and I'm sure you all have taken a look at, gotten the cost estimates and all of that on the billboard, the signage, that sort of thing. So I'm on board with that, okay? I would ask that you maybe take a look at increasing the number of billboards that you may have want to put up, and we move away from the camera piece. That would be my recommendation. That's a little more palatable, and I think we could kind of coalesce around, signage, that sort of thing, as opposed to, just the cameras, because I'm not hearing all of the details having been worked out completely on cameras just yet. And, with all due respect, the camera on 41, that's not going to be where most of your huge dumping is going to take place anyway. You'll get some bags tossed out of windows and what have you, and I get it, that piles up after a while. But I think in the spirit of what you're really going after, you're going after the true offender. And I wouldn't suggest that, you just put the signage of billboards on 29, US 41, US 40, that sort of thing. You got to get some of those other corridors, people traveling from the Long Island community the back way into Hurt, what he's talking about. Is that Grit Road over through there? And,
Yes, sir.
that sort of thing I can support, okay? Anything else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dahl.
I'll comment on. Yes, I like the idea of the advertisement and the education piece of it, letting the citizens know that, you can get fined, and I would be on board for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any others? Mr. Bowman, I'm going to protect you. I'll make the motion from the chair. I'm going to offer a motion that the Beautification Committee proceed with the signage and the billboard piece of it. At this juncture, we're going to postpone the camera deal. Is there support for that motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Can we also move to add consent agenda tonight, that the Board of Supervisors supports the Beautification Committee applying for a grant for signage?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, that would be my motion, to move that to consent agenda this evening.
I withdraw my motion. Is there support for Mr. Dudley's motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Height. All right, any further discussion? Madam Clerk, did you get the motion? Can you read it back so there's no confusion and clarity, please?
All right, so it's my understanding that the motion is to, which we will have to continue to do this. Once we get to the business meeting tonight, we will have to make another motion to add it to the consent agenda.
I get it.
But that would be to put that item on the consent agenda for the signage and the billboards,
Yes, ma'am.
as discussed in the work session.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Cast your votes. All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. All right. All right. Let me see. What else? Closed session. Mr. Evans, would you read us in, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 matters designated for closed session this evening, which are, first, a discussion concerning a prospective business or industry, or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. Legal Authority, Virginia Code 2.2, 3711A5, unannounced prospective businesses and industries. The purpose is general economic development project updates. The second matter is consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel, Legal Authority of Virginia Code, Section 2.23711A8. Subject matters Williams Transco pipeline and consultation with legal counsel regarding potential litigation. And the purpose is legal counsel consultation regarding the same. The third and last matter is discussion of plans to protect public safety as it relates to terrorist activity or specific cybersecurity threats or vulnerabilities, and briefings by staff members, legal counsel, or law enforcement or emergency service officials concerning actions taken to respond to such matters or a related threat to public safety. Discussion of information subject to the exclusion in subdivision 2 or 14 of section 2.23705.2, where discussion in an open meeting would jeopardize the safety of any person or the security of any facility, building, structure, information technology system, or software program, or discussion of reports or plans related to the security of any governmental facility, building, or structure, or the safety of persons using such facility, building, or structure. Legal Authority, Virginia Code, Section 2.2-3711A19. Subject matter, security generally. Purpose, discussion regarding the same. Mr. Chairman, now be appropriate to entertain a motion. Second, discussion and vote regarding closed session.
I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Is there support?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Movement with second. We move into closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none, cast your votes. Thank you so much. Motion passes 7-0.